Hey guys, this is the Chapter 8 and 9 review, page 5. And this is going to be, this round of videos will be the second half. Number 36 and 37, and also 38, 39, and 40 are algebra problems, pretty much, but you have to use some facts about geometry in order to be able to set these up and solve these equations and things. So what we're looking for is we're looking actually for the value of these angles, like we want a degree measurement. And in order to do that, we're going to have to solve an equation. What we know about angle 9 and angle 10 is that they form a linear pair. That's the key in this figure. Because they form a linear pair, that means they're going to have to be supplementary, which means their measurements have to add to 180 degrees. So the first thing you need to do is set up an equation here where you add the two angle measurements together to get 180 degrees. From there, you'll find x, which is not the answer. That's just part of what you need. You'll plug x back in, and then you'll be able to find the angle measurements you're after. So if we combine like terms, we're going to get a 4x, 2x and 2x. The negative 4 and 4 are going to basically cancel out. You're going to get equals 180. When you divide both sides by 4, you're going to get x equals 45. So from there, you need to plug this back in to these angle measurements to figure out, or to these expressions to figure out what the angle measurements are. So 2 times 45 minus 4 is 90 minus 4, which is 86. So that should be the measure of angle 9. And just because they have to add up to 180, the other one would have to be 94. So we'll double check, but that should be 94, so they add up to 180. But if we wanted to, we could just use this expression, 2 times 45 plus 4 is 90 plus 4, which indeed is 94 degrees. In problem number 37, we have a kind of a similar setup, except these two angles aren't linear pairs like they were up here. The relationship between these two angles is that they're vertical angles. And what we know about vertical angles is that they are congruent, which means their measures are the same. So instead of adding them and making it equal 180, in this case, we're going to set them equal to each other. It all depends on the figure and what kind of relationship these angles have. All right, from here, we're just going to solve for x, which is not the answer that we want, but it'll help us get there. So we'll subtract 2x from both sides, and we're going to get 5x over here. And then we're going to subtract 49 from both sides, which is going to give us a, let's see, 45, I believe. I need to double check that. Okay, so we got 94, and we're subtracting 49. Yep, looks like 45. Okay, so that means 9 equals x. Divide both sides by 5, right? And you get 45 divided by 5 is 9. So that's not the answer we're looking for, but that's definitely going to help. To get the angle measurements we're after, we're going to plug that in. 2 times 9 plus 94, that's 18 plus 94. Oops. Okay, so 112 degrees. So that's angle 13. Now, since they're congruent, this better be 112 degrees as well. But let's just double check. 7 times 9 plus 49 should equal whatever measure of angle 14 is, and we're thinking that that should be 112. So 7 times 9, 63, plus 49, sure enough, 112 degrees. So that all checks out. So the expressions themselves, we can plug the x back in and get the same angle, which is, kind of verifies the fact that they have to be congruent. So it looks like we did it right. I think we'll go on to the next page, page 6, just because that didn't take very long, and we'll just keep on trucking here. So this is page 6, and number 38 is going to also be a linear pair idea. So we want to find the measure of angle 1, but we know the measure of angle 1 is represented by this expression, and the measure of angle 2 is represented by this expression. So the key idea here, the things that you got to recognize, is that these form a linear pair. And because they form a linear pair, that means they're supplementary. And because they're supplementary, that means their angle measures add to 180 degrees. So the measure of angle 1, which is represented by 100 plus 20x, plus the measure of angle 2, which is represented by 20x, better equal 180 degrees. So when we combine like terms and rearrange this a little bit, we get 40x plus 100 equals 180. And we'll just start our solving process here. So 40x equals 80. Divide both sides by 40, which means that x has to equal 2. Okay, now that's not the answer. That's just part of what we need. What we're looking for, we got to read carefully because every problem is going to be a little different. We just want to find angle 1. They're not even asking us to find angle 2. So just find angle 1. Okay, well the measure of angle 1 is 100 plus 20 times x, which in this case will be 100 plus 20 times 2 because we know x is 2 now. So that's going to give us 100 plus 40, or 140 degrees. Now if this is not part of the question, but if we wanted to, we could go ahead and find this angle because they have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 40 is 40. Or just to double check, 140 plus 40, yep, sure enough that equals 180. So they definitely are supplementary in the form of linear pair. So that's the angle, that's the measure of angle 1 that we're looking for. Okay, 39, we're going to do some similar stuff here, but this time this is a two-step process. So we have measure of angle 1 is 4x minus 1. I'm just going to write that right next to the angle. And the measure of angle 4 is 6x minus 19, and we want to find this guy. So looking at the figure, we know that these two angles are vertical angles, which means they're congruent. So if we can figure out one of these, either angle 4 or angle 1, we'll have the other one. We also know that once we figure out one of these angles, we can use the fact that 1 and 5 form a linear pair to figure out what 5 is. So this is going to be a two-step process. The first step is just we know what these two angles are, we know they're congruent, so we can solve for x, plug that back in to figure out the actual measurement. So 4x minus 1 equals 6x minus 19. Okay, let's go ahead and group the x's. Negative 1 equals negative 2x minus 19. We'll get the numbers on the other side. So 18 equals, oh, that's positive 2x, sorry. 18 equals 2x, and then divide by 2. So 9 equals x. Again, not our answer, but definitely something that we need. So if we take this 9 and we plug it into this expression, we'll figure out what angle 1 is. 4 times 9 minus 1. Okay, so angle 1 is 35 degrees. Now because of the fact that these are vertical angles, without even really having to check, if we did this right, then this angle 4 should also be 35 degrees. Let's double check though, and let's use this expression. So x is still 9. 6 times 9 minus 19. Let's double check that. Okay, that's 54. Minus 19. Okay, so either way, we're getting 35 degrees, which is what we expect. Okay, now we want to find the measure of angle 5. So we use what information we have, we go as far as we can go, and then we realize, okay, we're still not where we want to be. But this angle, angle 1, measure of angle 1, and the measure of angle 5 have to equal 180. So we know 35 degrees plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180. So if I subtract 35 degrees from 180, you're going to get the other angle. Now, you may not have to set up an equation to get that, and if that's the case, that's fine. I would definitely set up an equation for this part. But 180 minus 35 is going to give you your angle 5, which is got to be 145. So two steps. We use the vertical angles, congruence theorem, and we use the linear angles postulate, or the definition, the linear pairs postulate, or the definition of linear pairs to be able to get the last piece. And this problem here, number 40, is also going to be a two-step process. So let's label what we know. Measure of angle 5 is 6x minus 15. Measure of angle 2 is 4x plus 25. Note that they are both vertical, or they're vertical angles, which means they're congruent. And then the measure of angle 3 is 55 degrees. And we want to find this one. Our goal is to find angle 1. So if we knew what this was, then we could say 55 plus this guy equals 180. Or we could take 180 and subtract whatever the sum of these two angles is to get angle 1. But we don't really know what this one is yet, so that's probably our first step. First step is to figure out what angle 2 is. To find that, we have to use this vertical angles idea. So 4x plus 25 equals 6x minus 15, because vertical angles are congruent. And that will allow us to find x here. So we got 25 equals 2x minus 15. Okay, we're going to add 15 on both sides now. So 40 equals 2x. And we're going to divide both sides by 2, which will give us 20 equals x. Okay, again, not our answer, but it will definitely help us get our answer. Because we can take this x equals 20 and plug it in here to figure out what this angle is. So what we need to do is 4 times 20 plus 25. Right? That's measure of angle 2 is 4 times x plus 25, and x is 20. So this is going to be 80 plus 25, which is 105. Now we don't really care about angle 5, except for the fact that we know it has to be congruent to angle 2, which is why we set up our equation. But it has to be 105 because they're vertical angles. And if we wanted to double check, we could plug that here, the 20 in here to make sure. So let's just double check our work. 6 times 20, so 6x minus 15, right? 6 times 20 minus 15. Okay, and we get 105. So yeah, we're good. Either way we slice it, we're going to get 105 for these angles, which is what we want. Okay, now if we add angles 2 and 3 together, we're going to get, this angle right here. So let's do that. 105 plus 55. Okay, so together, angle 2 and angle 3 is 160 degrees. But notice that angle 1 forms a linear pair with this other angle that we just made. So angle 1 plus 160 has to equal 180. So if we want to find this angle, we can do 180 minus 160. So 180 minus 160 equals 20. Okay, let's double check. So 20 plus 160, yep, that's 180. Or 20 plus 105 is 125, plus 55 is 180. So these three angles together have to make 180 because they form a line here. So this is what we're after. Okay, that's going to do it for those 2 pages. I think I'll stop the video here and then we'll start on the proofs on the next video.